This is the City of Waupaca's City Plan Commission meeting.
All right, it is 5:15, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, commissioners and the audience, to our regular scheduled City Planning Commission meeting. Before we start the City Planning Commission meeting, we actually have 4 public hearings that we have to take care of, and I'm just going to explain to our commissioners, but also to the audience, how the public hearings work. Public hearings are to give the ability to the public the opportunity to talk about whether they're in favor of your conditional use or against your conditional use. It's really up to you, if it is your conditional use, whether you want to get up and discuss. We assume that you're in favor of it already, so if you don't feel that you need to get up and talk about it. Once your public hearing is finished, and then we go right into the regular City Planning Commission meeting, and all of those items that are on the public hearing are also going to be under the regular agenda. So you might want to hang around, and we might have some questions for you. There are no questions during the public hearing. We just listen to testimony at this time. So understanding that, I'll call this public hearing to order. In attendance, we have Commissioners Fair, Keelan, Behrens, Mayor Smith, Aaron Jensen, Ivan Wayne, Angela Sage, and Eric Olson. And then we have staff. Of course, we have Jarrett Raku with us tonight. So the first conditional use permit has to do with 822 Bartlett Street, which is Carol Hutchinson Killy. And Jarrett, if you want to just give us an explanation of the conditional use they're requesting.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Mayor. So 822 Bartlett Street, Carol Killy Hutchinson is looking for a conditional use permit for outdoor storage on her property. So she runs a business dealing with pallets for the foundry, other entities, truckloads of pallets in and out, kind of pallet repair. So with that, she does have some outdoor storage on 822. She also owns the property next door, which any business there is done indoors, but the 822 has outdoor storage. So really that's what we're looking at here today.
All right. Okay. Everybody understand then what this conditional use is for? We would ask anybody that would like to give testimony in favor of this conditional use, step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and limit your discussion to 3 minutes or less. Any testimony in favor of? Any testimony in favor? If not, we'll take testimony in opposition. Anybody that is not in favor of this conditional use permit? Hearing none, I'll declare this public hearing closed at 5:18. So we'll move on to the next conditional use permit then, and it's Matthew Kriesel for Kriesel's Automotive LLC. And then we have, it looks like the prior owners, or maybe they still own the property, Joe and Charlie Galkey, for 230 Grand Seasons Drive. And Jared, if you want to just explain this conditional use also to us.
Of course, thank you. So this one is for 230 Grand Seasons Drive. Matt and Nicole Krissel are the leasers of this current parcel. They did express that they hope to purchase it in the future. But they are looking to run a sales service and repair for passenger vehicles out of this facility. So actually this was prior use was this exact use, but the prior owners did not come in for a conditional use. So at this time, the issue is being corrected, making sure everything is in order, and they are going through the conditional use process. So again, existing building, they're just looking to do the sales service repair of the passenger vehicles out of it.
All right. Again, everybody understand what that conditional use is for? and why they need a conditional use? All right, at this time, then, we'll take testimony in favor of this conditional use. Anybody that would like to talk to us on, in favor of this conditional use? Hearing none, anybody that would like to give testimony in opposition? Any testimony in opposition? Again, hearing none, I'll declare this hearing closed at 5:20 PM. Next one up is a conditional use permit for Peterson Brothers Properties LLC, which is at 1407 Royalton Street. And Jared, again, you want to just explain this?
Of course. Thank you very much, Mayor. So this is for 1407 Royalton Street. The Peterson brothers, Peterson Automotive, they are currently running an existing business. So this parcel did have a special use on it. And with the city no longer doing special uses, we are switching to a conditional use. This conditional use is, of course, something they don't have to come back frequently for, whereas the special use was. So looking to kind of put this one in order, they did present a site plan, or are proposing a site plan. Nothing has been submitted yet fully, and reviewed fully. So they're looking to add an extra building on their property. So that's kind of what sparked this. So as they're changing their property, now would be the time to go through that conditional use process for sales, service, and repair of, again, passenger vehicles, which is what their currently existing building or business is as well.
All right, so just a cleanup too here is what we're doing. So again, this is a conditional use permit. Anybody that would like to give testimony in favor of this conditional use permit for Peterson Brothers Properties LLC? Anybody that would like to give testimony in favor of? If not, we'll take testimony in opposition. Any testimony in opposition? All right, I'll declare this hearing closed at 5:22 PM. Next up, this is not a conditional use, but this is a zoning change for Agape Health Center Incorporated, 1401 Churchill Street, and this requires an ordinance, so this will be a little bit different, and Jared probably will explain that. So, yeah. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, so this one, this is a zoning change. They are looking to rezone their property, which is located at 1401 Churchill Street, actually right next door to Foundations for Living. So currently this property is dual zoned, which is not what it should be. It also proves difficult for them to do some of the uses they want to do, as it is dual zoned, and it creates a lot of confusion, and our code doesn't really accommodate that. So as such, they are looking to rezone the property completely to R3, which currently half of the property is zoned R3. And I think kind of the confusion came as this property and the property behind it was at one point one property, and they split it off and never really handled zoning properly. So a bit of a cleanup here, but also they are looking to proposed use, looking to facilities for victims of domestic abuse, and then community living arrangement, more than 16 residents. So that's kind of their intent, to change this old nursing home into a facility to help those that are struggling with domestic abuse, and then also just trying to help those get back on their feet for whatever circumstance is troubling them. So along with that, they'd have some other, their offices to kind of handle things, and just some other services. So first comes the rezone, and then, of course, facilities for victims of domestic abuse and community living arrangement, both are conditional uses. So you would see those in the future when those are presented or brought forward. So right now it's just that rezone to kind of get it all one zone and make those uses even a possibility.
Okay. All right, so there's a little bit more action that will have to happen on this one in future meetings, and we'll also include city council in on this when we do that. So again, at this time, we'll take testimony in favor of the rezone of the property on Churchill Street. Anybody would like to give testimony, step up to the podium.
Well, I'm Kelly Cook, the Executive Director, and I would love to answer any of your questions about what all we're doing there after the end. And of course, I'm all in favor. So.
All right. Thanks, Kelly. Any other testimony in favor? All right. Any testimony in opposition? Any testimony in opposition? I'll declare this hearing closed at 5:25 p.m. And we can go right into the regular City Planning Commission meeting. So I'll call our regular scheduled City Planning Commission meeting to order. It is Wednesday, January 5th, 2022 at 5:25 p.m. And in attendance, again, we have Commissioners Fair, Keelan, Barron, Smith, Wayne, Lesage, Olson, and we have staff Jarrett Reku, and our city administrator is also here with us tonight, Aaron Jensen. All right, so you have an agenda in front of you. I know that Jarrett gave you some handouts that are on your desk, but those were also in your packet as far as we can see. Alan, right? They're unchanged.
Correct.
They're the same. So I think we can go ahead and just approve the agenda as printed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Wayne, that we approve of the agenda as printed with all the items that came with it. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. A little bit of cleanup we need to do, and these are those handouts you have on your desk. We have minutes. We need to approve these minutes just so we can place them on file. It gives you a second chance to read those over, too, to see if there's, just to remind you of things, but also to make sure that they are correct. And so we had a public hearing on December 1st, and then we also had our regular meeting on December 1st. So, again, we would need a motion to approve both those minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Keelan, that we approve of the minutes from the public hearing on December 1st and the regular scheduled City Planning Commission meeting on December 1st. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. All right, let's move on then to action items, and this is where the audience will get involved here. We have the conditional use permit for 822 Bartlett Street, which is Carol A. Hutchinson Keeley. And we did have a public hearing earlier. Jared, if you want to just real quick again explain what's going on here.
Yeah, of course. So this starts on page 2 of your packet. This is a conditional use permit request for 822 Bartlett Street for outdoor storage. Currently, pallets, some trucks, kind of storage. They do pallet business and some stuff for the foundry. So outdoor storage is kind of the primary look at here.
My fault.
And then, of course, there's some conditions, the primary being one that, along with, I guess, every other conditional use, process, a site plan is required. So I guess that's really the big ones. All the other are fairly minor and accompany most conditional use permits anyways.
All right, and from a city standpoint, from your standpoint, everything's okay for this conditional use?
Yep. Conditional use. This is a business. It has been running. This is, again, just a cleanup as well. This process was never gone through. So going through the process, making sure everything is kosher. And then, of course, once the site plan has gone through, that just kind of solidifies everything as well. So from a conditional use standpoint, especially with the condition of the site plan and all the requirements that come along with that, staff would recommend.
All right, and I know Carol is here and Kurt is also here for that property. Do you have any questions? Are you guys okay with the conditional use permit?
Yeah, I submitted the maps and put things in place, and we're planning on doing the asphalt. We got rid of the salvage, which was the pictures from 2016. So
Okay.
the salvage is all gone, all that's left really. And then we did put, Jared shrubs behind those trailers, but he also put a, what is that thing he put there, the big stretchy, a tarp across fences along there. You had said that that needed to be there, so we did that already.
Okay. Yeah, and we can look at that further with the site plan as well too. Just include pictures with the application.
Everything cleaned up really good like you guys wanted. Well, agreed with everything you guys wanted to do, you know.
Well, except for trees along Bartlett. That's only because of the foundry has 47-foot trailers, semis coming in. 53-foot semi-trailers coming in with the trucks. And the turn ratio would be compromised, and we get 2 trailers a day because the pallets don't stay there very long. They're rotating constantly. We do shipping crates for John Deere.
Okay.
So.
Does sound like
trees along
Jared's,
Bartlett would be almost impossible. And then
it does sound like Jared has said that that's
Yeah,
okay. So,
and that's fine.
Right.
We're good with everything.
all right.
Mayor, am I correct? We're passing this on to the council, is that correct?
I don't think so.
Well, it
Conditional
says
use-
in here, a basis for approval, the planning commission and the common council shall consider.
Do they have to go to council with conditional uses?
Conditional uses go to council.
Oh, they do, okay.
Yep.
So we're really recommending to council if we approve, correct?
Okay, there does not need to be another public hearing then.
Correct. I'll make a motion that we approve these,
Recommend.
recommend to the common council this conditional use.
Okay. Motion by Fair,
Second.
second by Wayne, that we recommend to council the conditional use permit for 822 Bartlett Street. Any questions, discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. All right, good luck to you guys. Thank you for taking care of that. Next up, we have the conditional use permit. Again, this will be recommended to council. And this is for Matthew Kriesel for Kriesel Automotive LLC, which is on 230 Grand Seasons Drive. And Jared, again, just explain.
Yeah, of course. So this is a conditional use request for sale, service, and repair of Category M passenger vehicles at 230 Grand Seasons Drive. So this is an existing, or was an existing business. They were doing sales, service, repair of Category M already. The prior owners never went for a conditional use permit, so they are coming forward as they are the new leases. And they want to clean it up so they can run their business without any hiccups or issues. They're leasing the building currently, but hope to purchase it in the future. So,
All right, and you're recommending this conditional use permit.
yes, staff would recommend this conditional use permit as well.
All right, and I see Matthew, you are here tonight, and you're okay with everything? All right. I guess we'd be looking for a motion to approve then, or to recommend.
Recommend motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Lesage, seconded by Olson, that we recommend to council a conditional use permit for Kriesel Automotive LLC, 230 Grand Seasons Drive. Any questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Good luck. Thank you for taking care of that. You'll see it at the next council meeting that it will be approved. Or they'll discuss it.
Well,
at the council
yeah, I
level.
was just going to say, Mayor, just for the sake of the people in the audience, the City Planning Commission forwards this to the council, several council members on this commission. The likelihood of it as not passing is pretty slim, so you can go to the council meeting if you like, but you probably won't need to.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Next up, we have the conditional use permit for Peterson Brothers LLC at 1407 Royalton Street. And again, Jared, just explain.
Yes, this is another sales, service, and repair of passenger vehicles, Category M. Peterson Automotive, they are operating an existing business over there already. They do have a special use permit, but with them adding another structure for storage, it kind of sparks the need for the conditional use instead, as we're moving away from special use. So a little bit of a cleanup, and then also kind of helping them get to the point of possibly adding another storage shed on their property through the site plan process. So,
All right, so they're requesting a conditional use permit for their property, and Jared is actually recommending that we approve this. So, anybody would like to make a motion to recommend to council?
I'll make the motion to recommend to council.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Wayne, that we recommend to council a conditional use permit for Peterson Brothers LLC, 1407 Royalton Street. What's the second? Ivan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. All right, next up, D, we have a zoning change. This is for Agape Help Center Incorporated. This is 1401 Churchill Street. And again, Jared.
yeah, page 63 of your packet. This is for 1401 Churchill Street. It's a zoning change request. It is currently dual zoned, which our current zoning code does not accommodate. So switching to that solves a whole bunch of issues in terms of land use and other requirements that we would need to look at during a site plan process. They are looking to zone it to R3, which is multifamily residential, in the hopes of coming forward in the future for a conditional use for facilities for victims of domestic abuse, and then a community living arrangement, more than 16 residents. They'll have some incidental uses mixed in there to accommodate their primary uses, but those will come forward in the future with the conditional use if all goes as planned. Fairly minimal conditions on this one, just that they need to come forward with a conditional use for those if they are looking to for sure do those. And then they need all the other necessary zoning and building permits as they move forward, which we are in the process of working with them on as well. Staff would recommend.
All right. Go ahead, Pat.
Jared, we had back a ways, and I don't remember how far back, we dealt with Foundations for Living a little bit in terms of having people stay overnight at their facility, and we had to go through all that process, if you remember. And I don't know if we changed zoning for them at that point in time. Does this sort of factor into all of that? Is that sort of where this originated?
This specific zoning change or the concept of the...
Well, I guess, you said that down the line we're going to get some more information, but what's the overriding idea here?
So they, similar to kind of what they do now at their primary location, I don't think they have anybody stay over, but they offer counseling services for domestic abuse victims, and they're hoping to expand their services. I believe, and Kelly can certainly speak to this as well, probably much more than I can at the moment. But, women's recovery, counseling services, they kind of want to do an all-encompassing as they see a need for it, and other officials throughout the county and area see that need as well.
Will this zoning change cover all of the things you're just mentioning?
No. So this zoning change is kind of the first step. It is going to allow them to come forward with those conditional use permit requests. So the uses, the domestic abuse facility and the community living arrangements are both conditional uses in the R3 district. So that will come forward as a separate element. And then they also need to go through their typical site plan process to ensure all of those requirements are being met. So there'll be two separate besides this. This kind of gets them rolling if they don't have the proper zoning. The R3 district is really that only zoning classification that allows both of those. So if they don't do the zoning change, they really can't move forward with anything else.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Kelly, you have any questions or other comments you'd like to give at this time?
No, I can certainly share about what what we offer in our services if you like, but otherwise.
Yeah, go ahead. This is your chance. You're on TV.
No, it's okay. Yeah, well, we are a family counseling service, and we offer, family parenting classes and that currently, but we just had seen the major need and talking with the county about the services that they need. They're like, hey, we really need to have a shelter for domestic violence. Brian Rosell has brought it to us, same as the sheriff's department, about the fact of needing to have a overnight stay for domestic violence issues. And then also we want to do recovery services for ladies. We have such a major need. We try to place ladies that are looking for services and we can't find any throughout the state. And we have a licensed counselor on staff, and we're looking at hiring maybe AODA counselor. And we're just trying to meet all these needs. And we have, letters from Judge Nielsen now, actually court orders parents into our parenting classes right now. And he's has a letter for us too, stating what an impact our classes are and how much of a need our new services are. So, but yeah. Any questions or anything on what we do?
Well, Jared mentioned that you'll be coming back with some of those ideas because we'll have to deal with that. How soon or what kind of time frame are you looking at in terms of your project?
Well, we are hoping to get a new roof we're working on right now. The next couple weeks, I should be starting it. We want to start remodeling the building. We're hoping to be in by summer.
All right.
So you're going to get this all cleared up for us by summer? Is that the plan?
I don't know.
So,
We can only recommend.
That's right. Well, thank you much.
We're working as fast as government allows us to.
I meant that kind of.
Okay, so this would be a zoning change, which has to be an ordinance form, and so we're just recommending to council the zoning change, and then the ordinance would be taken care of at the council level. So we'd need a motion to approve the zoning change.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Keelan,
Second.
second by Olson. Any discussion? All in-
Mayor,
Yeah,
just
go
a
ahead.
reminder, will this have to go through 2 readings?
It will. Yeah, it will. Yeah, so Kelly, just so you know this, so this will come to a city council meeting, and we're only talking about Kelly. Now, it's different for the other people that are in the audience. Because this requires an ordinance change, it actually requires that city council gets to see it twice. So they'll see it on the 18th, but they won't vote on it, and then they'll see it on the 1st of February, and that's when they'll vote on it at that time. All right. Ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. All right, we have ordinance number 02-2022. This is chapter 17.104, parent 3 of the permitted uses and conditional uses. Jarrett?
Thank you, Mayor. So this one is one we actually kind of discussed last time. Just kind of tossed around and provided some time to take a look at it, offer any comments. Heard some positives about it, so bringing it forward in that ordinance format as an official. Again, highlights of what's changing, that restaurants other than drive-in fast food, it's becoming permitted somewhat across the board to accommodate those restaurants. If they were conditional in B2 before, which would make Salt and Belly and Little Fat Gretchen's conditional, which just seems from a staff level more hurdles than are needed. Those are the kind of things we want to see in our city, and that'll help our city grow and become a destination, bring people in. So just trying to make that a little easier, as well as in the B4, kind of making those permitted across the board, as in the definition of the B4 district does specifically call out restaurants. So just eliminating that hurdle for something that should be permitted there. Take any questions if you have any.
All right, again, as Jared has said, this is just cleaning up something that needs to be done here. So again, this would be an ordinance, so we'll need 2 readings at the council. So you're just if you're okay with this, you're just recommending to city council this new ordinance.
I'll move that we recommend this to council.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Wayne, that we recommend to council ordinance number 02-2022. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. All right, those are all the action items for tonight. And we have discussion items. You're more than welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting if you want to. But I am giving you the ability to get up and leave if you like to. So it's totally up to you.
Have a good night.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have any questions, obviously Jared will be in the office and you can talk to him.
Reach out and we'll
Thank
be in
you.
touch.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
All right, let's go down to discussion items then. Discussion on signage. I know we just started a little bit of this at the last meeting, so go ahead, Jared.
So at our last meeting, we did have a presentation on signage. Attorney Sorensen was in and kind of gave that presentation of, his input on it. So just want to give some time to debrief, bring it back. If there were any comments, thoughts, I guess the initial thought is to start here soon, just a review and include our counsel in with it, or our attorney in with it, to kind of begin with and draft and see where there's inefficiencies, where things are duplicated, where we can clear things up. But, I guess any initial comments or thoughts as we move forward, and something I'm sure we'll see on multiple different occasions, not just once or twice coming up here. So it'll be an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, so the way that I see this happening for the planning commission, city planning commissioners is that you'll see a signage code coming forward, and we're going to be involved in understanding what that zoning is for signage, and at that time, everybody will have the opportunity to just, basically give their opinion, and not only their opinion, but what they think the city of, what's best for the city of Waupaca. So once you see something, it will be a lot easier than what, than just talking about it. We do have one in place now, although we feel we need to make some changes to it. In my mind, probably because it's too restrictive, what it says, but also to make it a lot easier to understand. And that's ultimately our goal, is to make sure that everybody understands it. So, Jared, I don't know what else what.
That was really it at the moment. I guess until we had something to kind of bring forward other than just slapping our current code in there, which is just a lot to look at anyways. Really didn't have anything too much to present. But again, we'll bring forward in the future.
Yeah, and so you feel comfortable that you would be able to bring something forward, or is this something that we'll need to get some help with? Well, besides Attorney Sorensen, but
Yeah, I think it's something that him and staff can handle. There may needs to be some outside resources utilized for just questions, but otherwise, I think the majority can be done by him as well as staff.
again, the ultimate goal is to make sure that we're all on the same page, because if that's possible, because I don't think we are. So, that's the ultimate goal there. All right, we'll go on. So we'll probably see maybe at the next meeting. It might take a little while to get that.
February, March, depending on where the schedule is for other elements coming forward.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go. Let's talk about discussion on the site plan code then.
Yeah, so this one has been brought forward a couple of times. Something that there are some new elements, I guess, that were added in the initial zoning code revisions. Necessary ones, the change in use. So really those look at, is that use compatible? If a new use is coming in, what is that use? We really don't know. And if you wait till after the fact, they could have dropped thousands of dollars in renovations for us just to tell them, hey, sorry, that's not permitted. That's, it's an incompatible use in the area. So just trying to avoid that. And so that one's new. But as we're kind of going through this, some of the issues came up, especially with that change in use. What should we really be looking at? Should we just be looking at zoning and calling it a day, making sure everything is standard? The way it's written now, there are certain elements that are kind of looked at. Refuse screening, exterior lighting, making sure it's not shining into, other properties kind of thing. And then parking is, of course, looked at. Some of these elements should be evaluated no matter what. I mean, if you take out parking, of course, you still need to make sure they're meeting ADA requirements, as that's something they should have been doing for a while now, according to higher up standards, not just ours. So, there's some things that we would change if we don't really want to be evaluating that. Otherwise, if it's something we feel we want to see, like, refuse screening, are we wanting to see those current developments that may just have their dumpsters out? Do we want to see those shielded or screened, or, a little bit neater? What's the image we're wanting to look for the city? So that's kind of evaluating those. So there's some proposed possible changes there, some cleanup throughout to kind of accommodate the change in use. And then as well as, what staff is reviewing and what is being brought forward to you. So if there's things that, don't really need to come to you, they're very minor in nature. They have no effect on really anything. It was just a change. Reducing the amount of time an application takes is always good for the business, the residents. As the mayor had made a comment earlier in the meeting, government only can move so fast. And if you give it a cookie to slow down, and it'll take the whole package from you, kind of thing. So just trying to help out that process a little bit too. But bringing this forward is I want you guys to kind of see it multiple times. And if anything comes up as we're talking about it, or maybe you guys go through a process yourself, just something that doesn't make sense, just kind of wanted some input if there was any, making sure that we're trying to do this right so that we don't have to come back and do it again. Of course, as times change, there always might be minor changes, but just kind of really want to clear it up and make things easier. So if you guys had any comments initially, but again, email works just fine too if you guys think of something.
So this will actually be part of our code. The site plan review will be part of the code, or am I missing something here?
For signs?
Yeah, no, just for what you're talking about with the discussion on site plans. You have it worded as site plan code. So is that something that's in our code
Yeah,
right now?
so this is the everything starting on page 81. Everything in red is our changes, and then everything is in black is currently in our code. So there are some additions in there to try to clear things up. The addition of site plan standards specifically for change of use permits, and then keeping all the others as is. Even any of those other ones that are in black, I mean, if you feel that those shouldn't be in there too, or those are too restrictive, or whatever the case may be, the language isn't clear. Maybe they need to have something added to them. Again, open to all discussion on the entire item here. I know it's a lot, so if you have any general questions about why something is proposed, or anything such, and we'll review this again internally and possibly make changes if they're not clear based on any comments that are made.
There's one thing, I'm on page 85 here, Jared, and the paragraph C that you have in red gives me a little pause, because it seems to me that it can very arbitrarily change at a moment's notice.
So trouble with this is right now there is no flexibility. It says that all of these items are required. So even if it's a plan that just it doesn't, the plan being presented just doesn't need some of these elements. It's still asked for, and you get a lot of comments of, well, why do I need this? And so it is required. Now, certainly could look for other language if that feels that it's too open. And certainly just make sure, again, these are just some suggested changes to rerun through it. Again, with that in mind and kind of changes needed. So I'll make a note on that one, that maybe that's not the right language to use, and change that around for next time.
Thank you.
And maybe we just need to, I agree with Alan, but I also think maybe we just need to see a couple of times where when you go through the site plan review where you're saying, okay, these things were not needed. They have nothing to do with this project, and maybe you can explain that to us better.
Bring some past examples.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful
Sure, yeah.
there.
And yeah, just to weigh in on that language a little bit, it says the changes can be made at any time. That sort of is pretty nebulous, and it
Yeah.
maybe can be altered or changed after review or something like that, to sort of say that it isn't just arbitrary, but we've kind of looked to see it isn't needed. I don't know how you want to word that necessarily, but maybe a little bit more definitive than just at any time kind of thing.
Yeah, and maybe the simple phrase of as applicable instead, somewhere else in the phrase.
Right. And I was just going to ask, are all of the changes that are in red throughout the document, are those all, I know those are suggested changes. Did you come up with those, or are those some of those through the state ordinance or whatever document that you might use, or?
No, mostly came up with these as going through. So the change in use, it was never actually in here, so it doesn't specifically say who should be reviewing them, which change in use, again, fairly minor, so determines it was just something staff was doing. And I guess when I got here, change in uses were being reviewed internally. So just kind of continued that, figured, clean up. And then from past conversations too here at Plan Commission, at what should be brought forward, comment was made of, if it's minor and it doesn't need to, so some discretion involved. It doesn't need to come here if it's going to obviously be controversial, or it's a large development or something that you guys are going to need to know about or should know about, or are going to hear about no matter what. Something definitely brought forward, put in front of your eyes as a discussion item, agenda item. But the minor ones, an example would be the storage shed for Peterson Brothers. So very minor addition. Nothing is changing with the way they do business. It's not close to any other properties. They own a very large tract of land, and it's just going to be for storage. So something like that, discussions at the staff level, it seemed as though that was fairly minor, something that it wasn't going to cause any conflict with anything, as it is an existing business. So that was something that could be brought internally. Now with the way the current code is read, anything non-residential would need to be brought. So, that one was added as, I guess, a discretionary item. Wasn't sure how you guys felt about it, but just kind of leaving it up at the discretion of the zoning administrator or whoever is the designee to determine if it needs to be brought or if it doesn't. But some of the other ones, again, just past experience of what makes sense, what doesn't. So good example would be on page 83, talking about refuse screening. So if that were to stay in there, we had a situation come up where an individual was doing a change of use on Main Street and technically they should be screening their garbage, but it doesn't make sense in that alleyway, as if you put up a permanent fence, it'll obstruct traffic flow. The garbage companies won't be able to collect it. So just adding language in there that it makes sense. So if for say I were to, 5 years down the road, I were to leave and a new individual comes in, they look at a site plan, they go, oh, well, this is exempt. They're not going through the same weak process that I went through to go, call the garbage company. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. We can't pick up the garbage. So stuff like that. So a lot of it is just through going through the processes, things that it just didn't make sense. And it wasn't, it was more of a hassle and a hindrance than a help. But again, if something doesn't make sense or, you have questions about why something is, like the one situation you caught down here, just trying to eliminate the fact that all of these things need to be required when some of them don't apply. So that one, of course, easy enough to reevaluate the language, fit it in somewhere else, and get the point across without using that exact language.
Jared, where do you weigh in on some of these that are in red? I'm looking at one we had talked about ad infinitum in this commission about exterior lighting and not allowing or not supposed to it's supposed to shield and not spill over onto an adjoining parcel. If this passes, what are your thoughts on grandfathering in?
So that lighting requirement is already in the old code. That's just calling it out specifically for the change in use, as I created a separate column. So that is already being evaluated during every change of use to make sure they're not, they don't have a floodlight shining straight into an intersection of Fulton and Main. That it is shielded, it's pointed in, it's directly at something if it's a sign. So, in terms of grandfathering, when they come in to do a change of use, at that point, the property is changing. So at that point, that's why that can be evaluated. And I guess 99% of the time I've seen so far, everything has been shielded. But again, it's to protect that 1% that they come in and it is causing a huge issue. That we can make that a requirement that they need to change it or, install a new light fixture to solve the problem. So when they come in, it removes the grandfather. If they were to remain as is, they remain as is.
Who said you were going to be here 5 years?
I was going to ask if he's giving 5-year notice here.
Mayor, I'd like to stay as long as you'd allow me to.
All right. So thank you for that explanation, Jared. Any other comments or questions on that? All right, let's talk snow removal.
Yeah. So this is on page 86. So this was actually brought to the Common Council last night. So a couple of you have already seen it. Mayor Smith had approached me and asked if I could kind of put together a little process, timeline that can be distributed, put out if anybody has any questions. Snow removal is a very hot topic, no matter what community you go into. Whether you're 6,000 people, 15,000 people, everybody uses the sidewalks, whether that's postal workers, elderly, kids on their way to school. Everybody uses them. That's why they're in the public right of way. So cleaning them is a requirement and a necessity for those individuals to operate on their daily routines. So that middle column actually kind of has an importance of snow clearing. So I did copy and paste that from the state of Minnesota. They kind of have a little brochure packet, PowerPoint, which the link is actually in the packet here at the bottom. But they did a really good job of saying why it's important. I brought up at council last night too. I was driving in Stevens Point, and there was one property that there was a telephone kind of butting into the sidewalk, and so they kind of have the sidewalk curving a little bit, and whoever's responsibility it was to clean that area did not, and so there was an elderly gentleman that was having trouble getting over it. as approached, you kind of see him wiggling it around, and he finally got through and he kept on going. He's on a mission. Don't know where he was going, but, just kind of re-solidified the importance of ensuring that our sidewalks are clear and usable. But process on the left, just kind of wanted to outline what our process is. So 48 to 72 hours after a snowfall event, and this is dependent on staff time. If staff have other priorities or, predetermined activities that they can't leave behind, they can only do that on their free time kind of deal. But 48 to 72 hours, the facility superintendent, code enforcement officer usually will go out, inspect properties. They will make a list during that inspection that of unshoveled properties. That list will be provided to the streets department. The streets department, after they are done with all of our roads and all of our assignments, which can take up to 48 hours. We do have an expansive roadway network and sidewalks and city properties that need to be shoveled. So they complete their work first, and then they set up a day, 2 days to go out, snow blow, salt, sand, needed properties. If during that time frame, the requirement is 24 hours, but during that time frame, if the streets crew gets out at 72 hours and that sidewalk is then cleared, they just cross it off the list and they move on. So they know their time is valuable too. They know how to prioritize. They won't go unnecessarily do a sidewalk or go stand out there if they don't need to. But once they are done clearing those necessary properties, they then give that list back to administrative staff, the code enforcement officer, the deputy clerk, to do fees, citations, whatever it may be. The first offense is a $75 fee, and that really covers the cost of snow clearing. So the approximate average cost of the labor, materials, equipment, etc., is about $75. Bigger properties obviously would be a bit more. Smaller properties are a bit less, but an average is used for time and efficiency. The second offense is $75 fee plus $169 citation. And then the third offense is a $75 fee plus a $200.50 citation. So it does increase there to, again, incentivize the importance of getting out and clearing your sidewalks. As much as staff feel accomplished when the sidewalks are clear, the streets departments feel accomplished, I'm sure, when the sidewalks are clear. They do have other things that they could be doing. And it ultimately is the responsibility of the property owner to clear the sidewalk in front of their property or on their property, next to their property. So, if you have any questions, otherwise, feel free to distribute this if you know anyone that has any questions.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. Appreciate that. That has been a item of discussion, I would say heated discussion kind of at times in the community. But we do know the importance of keeping our sidewalks cleared. We just have to make sure that our residents maintain that. All right, let's go to discussion on alternative energy systems. You?
On page 87, this one starts.
Did you want me to take this one?
No, I just didn't want to interrupt you. Had some inquiries specifically about solar energy systems on some residential properties. A company had came in and said, "Hey, we had some people that are interested. What is the process?" And with myself being new to the position, it was good as they provided a list of questions, and I went through the code and was able to provide answers for them. But it did strike me as odd that the solar energy systems were conditional. Something that if homes would like to be more, sustainable, energy independent, certainly don't want to put the hoops up for them to go through. It seems something that a lot of, many other communities, I won't say a lot, I guess there are still some that do not want these energy systems, but with what I feel our community is, I feel has a very independent, strong-hearted mindset. And so I think that's why there's some significant interest in the solar energy systems. So I guess first discussion was kind of the table. So they were conditional really throughout, which I'll point out, conditional, it is really that extra hoop if it's something that is going to have a major possible negative effect on, the general public. So something you definitely want to bring forward, evaluate. I guess in my eyes, putting solar on your rooftop doesn't seem like there is a whole lot of harm. I guess the glare could glare into somebody's window, but, again, having supplemental kind of restrictions that if that is occurring, you can go back and say, hey, this isn't, you didn't install this to code, it is negatively affecting. Again, you'd hope that the contractors know what they're doing and they've done it enough that they would do it to prevent that. So hopefully that's never an issue, but just to have that catch, you have some supplemental revisions, but I guess primary change I was looking at was really just changing the conditional to permitted. Conditional, it is putting those conditions in, but you'd have a really hard time denying any conditional uses per state requirements. You'd have to have pretty good reason. So just reducing that extra step, putting some supplemental requirements to kind of catch all and, I guess just making it easier. So another one was the electric vehicle infrastructure. I guess that was a big one. So the electrical vehicle infrastructure levels 1 and 2, those are your home bases. So the level 1 is literally one you just plug into your normal outlet. And level 2 is one that you attach essentially a special little box for that it has a little bit bigger plug. So those are made for homes. I guess talking with our building inspectors, they know people that have already put those in their new homes. They had electrical inspections, but they didn't know they were conditional, which again, paying $350 for the conditional use for something that's maybe going in your garage and will never affect anyone, that one for sure didn't make sense to me. The other big one was geothermal. So geothermal, that will never really be retrofitted into existing homes. It will be only in new homes. So, doing the conditional use, again, something if we want to promote energy independence, making that permitted, making sure we're getting it out there that, hey, we want to see you guys try these alternative energy systems and up and coming technology in your new homes and, bring some sustainability to Waupaca and kind of increase the quality of life for those individuals. So permitting that across the board, again, when a new home is going in, that would be reviewed of if that's going in. It would have to be all to electrical code, all to HVAC code. So building inspection really covers a lot of the issues with that. Solar energy systems, again, permitted across the board. And then the small wind energy systems, you really don't see a whole lot of these. I guess when I say small wind energy systems, you probably still think of the big ginormous wind turbines, which these are more, if you think of your farmhouse wind turbine, the farm in the middle of the wheat field and there's a slow creaking small wind energy system there. That's kind of the thought process of it. So,
a windmill.
Making it permitted for those residential districts if it's wanted. Again, it's very up and coming technology. It's really not put out there a whole lot. Solar is much more efficient. Geothermal is much more efficient. Especially in winter when things freeze up. If you have a rotating tiny little wind turbine, it's not as efficient as solar or geothermal. But again, that was conditional across the board anyways. So just eliminating some of those hoops in the districts that they would be more prone to be in. And then I guess I mislabeled this. So new additions, the supplemental kind of chapter requirements starting on page 87 and kind of going down. So some of these are actually already in our code. I just kind of put them in there to spark some ideas, conversation, kind of set the groundwork if something didn't seem right, but to show you that there can be additional supplemental restrictions put in place to, I guess, for sake, prohibit a wind farm going up in a residential district, prohibiting a ginormous solar farm in a residential district, that they're more for residential and personal independent use. So some of those are already in there. Others are not and would possibly look to be added, but more as a discussion, just kind of toss them in here and open to any comments or questions or anything else anybody may have.
Oh, thanks, Jared, for going through this. This is one of those things where it's changed over time, and we didn't change over time, so we just need to get this updated. All right, moving along here.
I think Alan
I'm sorry.
I
Keelan had one.
Yeah, some issues here. Recall that we talked about fences a few months back and how they weren't permitted on street yards and primary street yards. And we have lots in the city that have 3 streets surrounding. And so by prohibiting solar energy and wind energy in street yards and primary street yards, I think we might have a problem with certain lots within the city. Also, that would apply to flag lots, where you really don't have a street yard per se, but you have a street yard under the ordinance that we have, even though you can't see the house from the street. So I think we have to make some exceptions, or at least make some consideration for that.
Okay.
Also, on the geothermal issue, I disagree that you can't retrofit. Having worked in the energy industry for many, many years, I have seen retrofits of geothermal on existing properties. And the issue of not using in a navigable body of water, an open loop system, the EPA has defined navigable water as any body of water that can float a canoe at some time during the year. And so this is all part of the Clean Water Act. So if I have a pond in my backyard, this would prohibit me from using the open system for geothermal. So I make note of those things that I saw in here. And also, I would also put a definition on small as far as wind systems go, X number of kilowatts or watts, whatever it might be.
Thanks, Alan. Any other comments? All right, let's go down to, I guess we're into reports now, the internal site plan review report.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This is on page 91. So just kind of going through those site plans that were reviewed internally, so you guys are aware of them. So 208 East Union Street, change of use. So they were offices. They are still offices, a property management company. 1955 Runner Drive. This was for the Waupaca Foundry. So this was one I believe I brought up that was in process at the prior meeting. Same footprint is in the center of the building. They're looking to just raise the roof. So minor site plan, nothing on the outside was changing. Number of employees weren't changing. In the end, you really wouldn't even notice that anything was changed unless somebody told you. So 1035 Royalton Street, change of use. So Thrivent Financial offices went into what used to be a daycare facility. Then in process, 230 Grand Seasons Drive. So this is actually one that conditional use was going through. They are looking to change the use of, they are looking to change the use of the building from what it was prior to the owner, or prior to them, owned by different owners, of light duty and passenger vehicle repairs, which they are going to continue doing that. So just a change in use there. 1407 Royalton Street, the Peterson Automotive. So the addition of a storage shed to the property. Again, they're an existing business. They have their primary business already there. They have a kind of work shed shop area in the back. And then just the addition of a storage shed just to house some of the things, clean up their lot. 1990 Royalton Street. So this is Presto Products. So we actually did see a rail car house and addition to their building come through Plan Commission, actually during a special Plan Commission meeting. So as their guys were out there, they received approval from corporate or whoever their higher ups are to also move forward with a silo pad and some new silos. So exactly where their current silos are, they just want to add 2 additional to accompany what their new addition is going to need. So minor site plan wasn't really affecting anything. That one is now approved, and I believe they poured the concrete. They do have some work with some property line adjustments, but that will all be completed before the silos are put up at all. 102 Water Street, change in use, so Cassandra Dropsmith. This property has been vacant for a long time. She is looking to do businesses, offices, and residential in it. I believe she is working with our building inspectors to do some renovations, so nice to see that building is going to be back in use. 250 Bailey Street, SBA Mobile Communications. So they are looking to put in or replace an existing generator with a new generator. So just upgrading the generator at their site. No towers are going up, nothing, just swapping out an old generator for a new one to ensure everything is working properly. And then 720 East Lake Street, the addition of solar panels to the property. So this is one actually that kind of started. So this company, they actually approached us prior and asked those questions. But this one kind of came forward and what they were proposing, putting a couple panels on the roof. It seemed the conditional use was a little extreme or overboard. But again, when this comes through, it's a residential site plan, so staff would review it, approve it, take a look and make sure everything is kosher with it. That one was put on hold. I believe they're waiting to see where that goes with the conditional use. I don't think the homeowner was in any hurry, and I'm sure if they could save money and the headache of the process, I'm sure they will choose to do that. So the contractor's waiting on that one. Any questions about any of those? And this was up to 12/16 with staff. I had vacation, so we got the packet out a little earlier than we typically would. So this is only to 12/16. This next month's will have 12/17 to the end of the first month, or as far as we can go.
And I misspoke before, but you did put on our desk the 2021 permit report, and then also the code enforcement status 2 reports. Want to talk about any of that?
Yeah. So these two, again, had some employees out on vacation, didn't get to running these reports, so they are in paper copy in front of you. They will be posted on the website. In the code enforcement status report, nothing too controversial, just some typical. And then in the permits issued, I guess besides the ones kind of gone over in the site report, nothing too extravagant. Did have some interest from the developer over in the subdivision over by the airport. They're looking to do some more, so that was nice to hear on the potential future permits being issued as well. So, but other than that, everything is pretty typical as well.
All right. why don't you go ahead and just talk about development update too?
Yeah, so development updates. Starbucks is, of course, up and going, and I consistently see a line of cars, so that's a great addition. Ruby's Pantry did receive final approval on their final inspection, so I assume they'll be doing some additional work, bringing some stuff in, and they'll be up and running soon as well. The River North, still working on that. The River North neighborhood development, still working with contractors. We did go through that zoning change that allowed us to put in an application for some tax credit housing or workforce housing through WIDA. So waiting to hear back from that. I guess, Aaron, I don't know if you have any more to add. I feel like I'm missing one or two, but they're not coming to my head at the moment.
I don't think so. Did you mention the housing program?
No.
Council?
Housing program.
So, one thing we talked about at council last night was just a discussion point, and it was something that the mayor had brought forward to us actually months ago, and it was to address an aging housing stock, kind of, I don't know if I'll call it an issue, but a reality in the community. And we are looking at and discussing creating a program that would result in grants for homeowners for certain projects. It is coming from the funding that was given through ARPA, and that's a discussion at the council level. So, Mayor, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
No, but I guess I do, just a little bit. I'm just excited about it because it's something that's similar to what we were doing in the downtown revitalization program where we are giving out grants. This is going to be for the community. There are some stipulations. Their house has to have been built before 1970 or before. And to get 100% of the grant, they have to be at that mid-level income in the county of Waupaca. But everybody that has a home that's 1970 or earlier qualifies for some kind of grant if they like to move forward with it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that does to improve our housing stock in the community. So look forward to seeing that. We're going to promote the heck out of it. So you'll see it. Yeah. All right.
Aaron, can I just ask before we, every month we get the total on fees. Did the council get an end of the year how much we brought in on fees this year?
I can tell you it was over $300,000. We had budgeted $75,000. So in 2020 it was just shy of 300,000. In 2021 it exceeded 300,000.
So. And I'm not on the council, I understand it, but what happens to that excess? I mean, does that just roll over into your general fund then?
It does, and actually, this kind of goes along with the conversation we were just having with the housing program and how to use ARPA funding. A lot of communities are using ARPA funding to backfill lost revenues through COVID. Our building inspection fees and revenues ate up anything that we lost in other line items, so we can't even use it to backfill revenue because that exceeded our losses in other areas. So yes, it does go into the general fund.
Do you when you budget for next year, then do you use last year's numbers?
We've upped it. I believe we upped our budgeted amount to 125 for 2022 based on trends, but in no way do we want to budget 250 or 300,000 because we understand that if you look at history over 20 years, that could put us in a bind. We want to be conservative in our revenue.
Sure.
Yeah, we had a few years where it was almost zero, so.
I know. That's why I ask. I mean, even this month, I see total fees $28,000. So obviously, you extrapolate that out times 12, you get a pretty good amount.
Yeah, that's right.
It's been great.
Yeah, good.
Well, and we do have, the money does go into a general fund, so it's basically like all the monies are earmarked for certain things within your budget, and the general fund is where it is not earmarked for something. And of course, you have to keep a certain amount for rainy day type things and to cover your expenses and stuff like that. But we are gonna take a good look at our general fund, and you maybe will see something where we can take advantage of some of those permits to
Well,
help
as you-
with some other projects.
As you said, over for many years, the fees, if they, evened out, so be it, the amount budgeted. But it's an income stream that a few years ago never would have thought it'd been that much in our wildest dreams.
Yeah, no, it helps.
It does, very much.
Anything else for tonight's meeting? Eric, we're getting you out way before 7.
And Jared gets
Move to
keep his
adjourn.
job for another week.
Motion by Keelan, second by Olson, to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We're adjourned at 6:31 PM. Have a great night. Drive safe. Go Packers. Yep.